sports teams. So I'm a big Cubs fan. Michigan. What? It's rough right now. Big Michigan football, basketball fan. Tampa Bay Lightning, Dallas Cowboys, another side. And then my EPL team is Man City as well. So those are like my big ones that I root for.
And we went to a Man City game when we were in the UK, so that's where that comes from.
That's where that comes from. Beat Southampton like 6-1. It was incredible. Yeah. So I hopped on board. Bandwagon.
And they have great colors, honestly.
Really good colors. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Those are honestly what my high school colors were, like the Carolina blue, like the light blue, and navy. So biased.
So biased. Yeah, it doesn't hurt that they're very good either. So
yeah, that's true. My sports teams, all of them are because of my family for the most part, besides my college. But New York Mets fan, New York Giants fan, New York Rangers fan. I don't really follow the NBA. I do root for the Tampa Bay Lightning as well. They're really the only Tampa team that I enjoy. And I'll root for the Rays too, just because they're an underdog. But I wouldn't say they're like my team. Absolutely cannot stand the Bucks though. And then my college sports team is FSU, obviously, across the board. I think that's it.
Yeah,
don't have a soccer team. I don't follow soccer.
Michigan's the only team I root for because of my family. Every other decision I made on my own, which is different compared to most people, but so independent, so creative.
You're just so unique.
So unique. But yeah, go blue. Fuck Ohio State. We own you. Take the L. Fuck off. All right. Favorite athletes? Mine have to be, this is such a hot take. I don't like the NBA, but I love Grayson Allen. I was, back when Duke won in 2015, I guess Duke basketball I got that from my dad as well. But when they won 2015, they couldn't have won without him, and I kind of just like followed him to the NBA. Like, I don't have a team, but wherever he goes, I'm just going to root for him to do well. So I have a bunch of Grayson Allen shirts. And then my other guy is J.J. McCarthy, quarterback of Michigan Wolverines. Go blue. Hold the L, Buckeyes. We own you. Suck it. I don't lose with grace. I'm a sore winner. No, I've been bullied.
You should, especially to teams like that. That's how I felt about FSU UF. I almost fought so many people on Friday.
I've been bullied like my whole life being a Michigan fan, living in Ohio by these people. So they're going to hear it from me for as long as they can hear it from me. So
I don't
suck it.
You.
If I get shot in Columbus,
oh my gosh, Kelsey.
You'll know why.
Stop. Knock on wood. Favorite athletes? I don't really have favorite athletes. Like, I have players that I enjoyed watching, like, growing up. I don't know if I have a current favorite athlete, honestly. I'm trying to think.
Really?
Probably not. I root for the team, so I root for all the players. Like, back in the day, like, FSU, Dalvin Cook, I still love him. I still follow him on the Vikings, but he was my favorite player. I used to have his jersey, but it wasn't actually his jersey, but it was his jersey because that was the weird time where it literally had number 4 in it, but it wasn't a Dalvin Cook jersey.
I'm glad that shit's over.
Yeah, agreed. But I don't think currently Pete Alonso. I love Pete Alonso from the Mets. He grew up in Tampa, unfortunately went to UF, which is fucking disgusting. But he's on the Mets. He's on the right blue and orange team now.
Finally.
So love Pete Alonso. Yeah, he figured it out. He actually got married this past year or 2 years. Yeah, year at Hotel Haya in Ybor, which is pretty cool.
Oh, fun fact.
He's a Tampa boy. So I would say him. I like Saquon Barkley too, from the Giants, but that's pretty much it as far as like my favorite athletes currently. But I was a big like, and I think it's because of my brother and cousin both grew up playing baseball, and my family was a huge and still is a huge baseball family. But I loved like my favorite athletes were like one of my favorites of all time is David Wright and Mike Piazza from the Mets. But I used to love like Nomar Garcia Parra, even like Sammy Sosa before everything happened.
Oh.
Like all of those, yeah, all of those baseball players that we grew up with, those were like my favorite athletes growing up. I also loved like Mia Hamm, Tony Hawk, like just like, I don't know. I think I looked up more to athletes as a kid than I do now. So I don't know if I have any favorites. I have favorites for my team, like I said, but yeah, all the players, like mostly the baseball players we grew up with were my favorite from backyard baseball.
That's fair. I think kids attach more to athletes more, and like I was a really big Sammy Sosa fan. I still think the Cubs should, I don't know, bring him back to the stadium. That's a whole thing that I hate.
Yeah.
Big Emmitt Smith fan. That's why I'm a Cowboys fan. So, but yeah, I think that kids just gravitate towards athletes more. But I also think now we're in a time where people choose teams because of athletes instead of choosing athletes because of teams, if that makes sense. So I've kind of grabbed hold to it a little bit. Anything that will pull me away from the Cowboys at this point. So I'm just waiting to see how JJ does, who he gets drafted by. Maybe we'll make a switch. I'm like praying for something to happen.
For something good. Yeah,
Please.
I definitely think, and it goes into a whole conversation, which we could even do a podcast episode about, but like if athletes are role models / should be role models, because I know a lot of athletes lean into it, but a lot of athletes are like, I wasn't picked, like your child picked me to be their role model. I didn't want that necessarily. So I think that's why, and I really think like, I don't know. I just feel like back in the day, there were so many more video games that were sports. Like, I feel like in the 90s and 2000s when we grew up, there was so much sports, like, things that were targeted towards kids. And maybe it's because we don't have kids yet, so I don't know how it works. But I just feel like back in the day, there was so much more emphasis on the athletes and sports. Whereas now, I guess it's more like consumption through social media. And I don't know.
Yeah, they don't make like the kids game. I mean,
Backyard
it's
baseball,
Madden.
backyard soccer,
Exactly.
backyard basketball.
I had every backyard game from football to skateboarding. I know
They
what
were
I'm
the
on.
best. Yes.
So good. But yeah, now it's just like Madden 2K, the show, which are fine, but I don't think it helps you learn athletes as well as the older games. Maybe did back in the past, but that's okay. We'll make it work.
It's fun. I love like all of the female athletes from the women's gymnastics team too, like Nastia Lukin, Shawn Johnson. I still follow Shawn Johnson on Instagram. I used to watch her YouTube page like religiously.
Wow.
So I think it's just, I feel like now as an adult, it's more like the people I grew up with. I don't know if I necessarily, again, have like favorites. And I think too, like if, for example, Saquon left the Giants, I probably won't follow him anymore.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a
Because
good
you know,
point. Right.
so yeah.
Older generations, not that we're old, but, you know, millennials and up seem to follow the teams more so than the athletes, in my opinion. But we'll see how that changes over time. Stay tuned. We'll talk about it. All right.
That's
Favorite
why baseball
food?
is dying.
Fuck baseball. Anyway.